Good day, this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Tehran, the capital of Iran, on July 3rd, 2026 for A Reason to Resist. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the world leaders and other dignitaries who came to Iran over the past 24 hours to pay their last respects to the slain supreme leader of Iran, Imam Ali Khamenei. Why does this subject matter? Well, Western governments and corporate media would have you believe that Iran is isolated on the world stage. Now, while that may have been true to a large degree not too long ago, we have good reason to doubt that narrative today. Why, after all, would over 100 countries send representatives to this funeral if, in fact, Iran is isolated? Now, before I get into the drama of today's events, please remember to like and share this video if you find it to be informative. And please become a subscriber to Reason to Resist if you've not already become one, and help us to expand the reach of our unapologetic, on-the-ground resistance journalism. Now, let's get into it. Today, representatives from across the non-Western world, which, by the way, is far larger in every important sense than the Western world, converged on Iran to pay last respects to Imam Khamenei. The supreme leader was murdered by the Epstein regime on February 28th of this year. The 86-year-old spiritual leader and constitutional leader of the country was killed along with his daughter, his son-in-law, and his 14-month-old granddaughter, Zehra. And this, by the way, is a video clip taken of Zehra shortly before she was murdered.
چقدر نامردن اینجا عروسک داشتم و له کردن اینجا بهم خندیدن اینجا.
Now, of course, you won't see any mention at all, or at least hardly any mention, of this beautiful little girl when the corporate media and Western governments talk about the assassination of Imam Khamenei, and that's simply because her murder cannot be reconciled with this absurd narrative that the reason for which the supreme leader was killed was to promote human rights and democracy in the country of Iran. And by the way, at today's ceremony of foreign dignitaries who came to pay their respects to the slain supreme leader, the coffin of 14-month-old Zehra, you can see it there in the foreground along with her photograph, was situated in front of that of the Imam Ali Khamenei. And by the way, yesterday when I reported on the events in Iran on my first day in the country on my most recent trip, I had intended to refer to Zehra as being 14 months old, but apparently I said 14 years old. This was pointed out to me by a couple of commenters, and I apologize for the error. In any case, access to the visits of foreign dignitaries today was unfortunately highly restricted, presumably due to security considerations. And so I and the other journalists who make up the large entourage of journalists here at the hotel where we're staying were not able to actually physically attend the ceremony itself. But I've gathered information and some important video clips from the Iranian media as to which foreign dignitaries paid their last respects to Imam Khamenei today. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif attended the state funeral, as did or is attending the state funeral, as will Pakistani Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir and the country's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi. And of course, Pakistan has played a central role in mediating this memorandum of understanding between the United States and the Islamic Republic. The president of Tajikistan, Emomali Rahmon, is attending, as are the presidents of Armenia and Georgia. Russia sent a delegation which included the powerful former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. Mr. Medvedev is currently the deputy chairman of the important Russian Security Council, and here's a video of his visit to the coffin of the supreme leader along with other members of the Russian delegation earlier today. Now, China also sent senior government officials. The lead member of the delegation was He Wei, the vice chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, which is China's parliament. And here is a video clip of the delegation's visit to Imam Khomeini's coffin. Now, in addition to that, Turkey sent Turkish Vice President Cevdet Yilmaz. India sent its deputy foreign minister and a state governor. Afghanistan sent its foreign minister, while Bangladesh sent its parliament speaker. Remarkably, both the Qataris and the Saudis sent significant delegations as well. The Speaker of Qatar's Shura Council led the Qatari delegation. Saudi Arabia sent, among other Saudi officials, its Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. And here's a video clip of their visit to the Supreme Leader's coffin.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد كان لكم آية في فئتين التقتا.
Now, as you just heard, a Quranic verse was being sung. This was done with all of the visits of these dignitaries. But a Quranic verse was sung as the Saudi dignitaries stood before the coffin of the supreme leader. You may be interested to know the translation of that Quranic verse. According to the Fortress Resistance Telegram channel, it is as follows, quote, "Indeed, there was a sign for you in the two groups that faced each other, one group fighting in the path of God and the other disbelieving. They saw the believers with their own eyes as twice their number, and for that reason they were defeated. And God supports with his help whomever he wills. Surely in this reality there is a lesson for those with insight." Now, it is most interesting not only that this Quranic verse was chosen, but that the Saudis and Qataris came despite the fact that there is voluminous evidence that they enabled, facilitated this criminal war of aggression on the Islamic Republic. We know for sure that there are massive U.S. military bases in both Qatar and in Saudi Arabia, that they have radar facilities which are used not only to protect those military bases, but also the genocidal Israeli entity. There were numerous U.S. military refueling aircraft which were used to facilitate bombing runs on Iran that were based at a U.S. air base in Saudi Arabia. I've actually stood at the outskirts of the Al Udaid military base in Qatar, which is the largest U.S. military base in West Asia. It is truly enormous, and it's a facility, by the way, which is shared between the genocidal U.S. military and the Qatari military. So nonetheless, they were here, and I think that may tell you a little bit about which way the political winds are blowing in West Asia, especially when you consider this. Today, Iranian media reported that Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, and the Trump regime launched a pressure campaign to prevent governments from sending dignitaries to the funeral of Imam Khamenei. And here you can see a report in the Shafaq news agency of Iran. And it reads as follows: the US launched a diplomatic campaign to discourage countries from attending a memorial ceremony for Iran's slain leader. This was reported by the semi-official Tasnim news agency today, citing an Iranian senior source. By the way, I've seen another report, at least one other report to similar effect, which was based apparently on two Arab sources. And this particular report goes on and says, U.S. Secretary of State Rubio issued a confidential directive on June 26th, instructing U.S. embassies and diplomatic missions to inform host governments that Washington would consider their participation in the event an unfriendly act, those words are in quotation marks, that could negatively affect bilateral relations. This pressure prompted at least 13 countries, including 3 from Eastern Europe, 5 from Africa, 2 Arab Gulf states. Let me guess, one of them is the UAE, which is no more than a Mossad operation masquerading as a country, and 2 East Asian countries to skip the ceremony, while 1 North African country reportedly downgraded the level of its delegation over concerns about the impact on its ties with Washington, the sources said. I would guess that that was Egypt. The United States has not publicly commented on these allegations. So as you know, I'm always skeptical about reports based upon unnamed government sources, particularly unnamed Western government sources. But these stories oftentimes are planted in the media, whoever the government sources may be, people who don't want to be named because they want plausible deniability, and they're planting a story for their own political objectives, which may be partly or wholly untrue. But let us be honest here. Does anybody doubt for a second that the United States government would engage in such a pressure campaign, particularly the Trump regime? I think it would be surprising if it didn't engage in such a pressure campaign, because its whole narrative is that the supreme leader was supremely evil, and that nobody wants to deal not only with him or his memory and his legacy, but the entire Islamic Republic. So the more people who show up, especially senior government officials, at this particular ceremony, the harder it becomes to sustain that narrative. And it is that narrative, by the way, which largely underpinned this psychotic criminal war of aggression, which is far from over. So I find this story to be completely credible just based upon the behavior and the political objectives of the Trump regime. Now, one final video I want to show you before I tell you about what's going to happen next is that of the visit of the sizable delegation sent by the Lebanese resistance. By the way, the Lebanese national government also sent an individual. I believe it was the defense minister of Lebanon, which is interesting. But that delegation wasn't nearly as large as the one that was sent by the Lebanese resistance. And here's the video of that visit.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تهنوا ولا تحزنوا وأنتم.
As you can see, and understandably, many members of the Lebanese delegation were moved to tears by their visit to the coffin of the Supreme Leader. Now, I'll mention in passing before moving on from today's events that 4 European countries, despite what probably was an intense pressure campaign by the Trump regime, sent either government officials or cultural/religious delegations to the funeral. And those countries were Spain, Hungary, Serbia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Now, the public part of Imam Khamenei's funeral begins tomorrow, July 4th. What you saw today was the private part of this multi-day event reserved for government officials. Now, tomorrow, as you almost certainly know, is Independence Day in the United States. That's what July 4th is, known around the world. And call me a conspiracy theorist, but methinks that the timing is not coincidental, and that this day was chosen as the start of what could well be the largest funeral in recorded history in order to send a pointed message to the United States and to the broader world. Tomorrow, our large entourage of foreign journalists will depart our hotel early in the morning to observe and record what happens or promises to be a truly enormous procession, which is rich with both historical and political significance. Again, whatever you may think of the man Imam Khamenei, there is no doubt that he has been an individual of considerable consequence, and that the way he died and the circumstances in which he died will almost certainly be remembered as something of considerable historical importance, particularly in regard to the distribution of power in this region and in the broader world. Up until now, by the way, just to close out my report, I have probably given more interviews. I've been here for, I guess, 36 hours. I've probably given more interviews than I've been able to do. I have done 5 interviews for Iranian media. The most recent one was about 2 hours ago. I and U.S. journalist and activist Kala Walsh and a Pakistani journalist whom I met for the first time this evening, Salman Haider, went to the IRINN, that's a state broadcaster studio, at 10:30 p.m. to be interviewed live, separately, on Iranian state television, starting at 11 p.m. And I've also was advised upon my arrival in Iran that there was a crew of filmmakers who wanted to do a documentary on me. I'm very flattered by that, frankly, and it is a little bit weird, to put it mildly, to have a camera crew following me around. You may see in my reports some individuals pointing a camera at me. They're going to try to remain inconspicuous, but if you do see something like that, that's probably why. And I think this has a lot to do with the reporting that I was privileged to be able to do in March of this year when I came to Iran for 11 days during the hot phase of this war. And overall, I'm very moved by the warmth with which my brothers and sisters here in Iran, and particularly the journalistic profession, have greeted me both on this trip and on prior trips. But I'm going to focus now on doing as much reporting as I can, and I'll be trying to put out at least one video report a day to show you on the ground what is actually happening inside the country. I did manage to film 2 reports today, one at a major shrine in Iran, and another of a remarkable British-Iranian politician who is a major figure within the British Workers' Party led by George Galloway. His name is Hussein Shafri. He's also stood to be a member of the British Parliament. I just haven't had time to prepare those reports, but I'll certainly do that in the next couple of days, in addition to reporting to you on the funeral itself. For now, I'm signing off from Tehran, Iran, on July 3rd, 2026.